Gospel of Luke. From 21:10 through actually about 19, which we covered a couple of weeks ago, we had hard times ahead for the church, what the church was going to have to face, and we studied a little bit about church history, and we brought out the names of some of the people in church history that would actually die and did die, and the terrible things that would happen. We know that false religion has always persecuted truth. It always has done that, all the way down, all the way from Adam's time till now. False religion, the first initiator of false religion was what? The first initiator of false religion, who was it? The one that inspired Cain. The first one to institute someone to worship, false worship, was Satan through the snake, the Nahash in the garden. And he spoke to Eve and told her that, of course, her name was not Eve at that time, was it? What was Eve's first name? What was her name? What was her name originally? Anybody know what Eve's name was? Isha. Isha, it meant her first name that she was given by Adam was Isha, which means out of man or woman. Isha means out of man. Then her next name was Eve, which means living. All right? How many Edens were there in the Bible? How many? Marilyn, be quiet for a minute now. I know you got all these answers. How many Eves were there? I mean, how many Edens were there? How many Edens? How many Edens in the Bible? Brother Roger? Two. All right, where was the first Eden? What? Lucifer was over the first Eden, and it was actually basically on the earth. All right? And then he destroyed that, and then we have God reconstructing the earth and building the second Eden, and he planted it, and it was a beautiful place, and then we have Adam put in there. And then the devil instituted false religion, and he spoke to Eve. Now, man, Adam, was supposed to be guarding his wife and the whole creation that God had put him over. You see, the first Eden was a throne room of the universe. The second Eden was a throne room, and Adam was on that throne. And Satan spoke to Eve and told her that she could be like God, and she'd know everything, and she fell for it. And then we have the culmination of all of their sin and rebellion. They became thieves. How many of you heard that Adam or that Eve took an apple off the apple tree? All right. Well, it wasn't an apple tree. We know that. But whatever that tree was of the knowledge of good and evil, they completely defoliated and took all the fruit off of it. In the Hebrew, it tells you they just robbed all of it, took it all, and they disgorged themselves with it. And they kept on eating, and they kept on gorging themselves with this fruit, whatever it was. And now that's in the Hebrew Bible. It's beautiful. I'm teaching Hebrew this afternoon, see. From the book of Exodus, you will find out what the law says in that. But no, it wasn't an apple. Whatever it was, they defoliated the tree, and they completely ate it. I don't know whether they ate the old branches and everything else, but they were just gorging themselves in the imperfect tense. It said they kept on eating and eating and eating and eating. And then God approached them. But that was the first act of false religion. The second act of false religion was Cain. And in Genesis 4:1, Eve, in Genesis 3:15 is the first promise of what in the Bible? A dual promise. We're going to deal with that in Luke the 21st chapter today. What was the dual promise in Genesis 3:15? What? Satan would bring forth a child in the world, and that would be the Antichrist. His seed would do war with the seed of the woman. Who's the seed of the woman? The seed of the woman is who? Jesus Christ. Okay? When Eve had that first child, and his name was what? Cain. Say Cain. Cain. Cain means what? gotten. The land of Canaan comes from that name. She had this child, and she said, I've gotten a man. And it says this in Hebrew. That's what it says right there. What's that say, Brother Roger?
Jehovah.
All right. She said, I've gotten Jehovah. She thought she'd had the promised child. But she lived in rebellion. She ate, she stole, she became evil and wicked and everything, just like Satan was. She became evil. Okay? And her seed would be evil. Okay? And that seed, when he came forth, she said, I've gotten a man, Jehovah. The Savior's been born. And what did that person do? Cain. He killed his brother. He murdered him violently, viciously in the PL stem in Hebrew. And he sliced and he cut and he ripped and he cut and he sliced and he cut and ripped and cut. Chopped him up in little pieces. And his blood was all over the ground. That was the culmination of false religion. And then we come on down to the Bible. Let's go to Luke, the 21st chapter now. We talked about the church is going to have hard times. Verse 18 and 19 is the end of that. And he tells these people right there, now this is what's going to happen during the church age from 10 through 17. But, he says to you, yet not a hair of your head will be perished. By the way, Peter and all of them wouldn't die until the race was run. But I'm telling you what, every one of them would die except for John. They all died unnatural deaths. James, Jesus' half-brother, died. Jude was killed. All of these were killed. Now, every time anything happens in the world, I can guarantee you there's a counter-universe. Have you heard of the counter-universe? The counter-universe. How many of you heard of that? All right? Angel wars. Every nation has angels behind it. All right? As far as we can figure out, they're all wicked. Except for Israel. And right now, Israel's angel is not one of God's angels right now. God's protecting them and bringing them back in the land. He says in verse 18, yet not a hair of your head will perish, but by your endurance you will gain your lives. In other words, you'll keep on going. We find out, as we studied in church history, we found out historical reports where Peter was put in jail and that an angel of the Lord rescued him. We read that last week or the week before or whatever. Verse number 20 now. Now we jump where we're talking about here and in the church age. Now we jump into the tribulation period. We jump all the way past. Jesus says all this is going to happen now. The ones that will survive to the end, by their endurance, by their remaining faith, they will live. Okay? Now let's see what in the world happens now. It's got Jerusalem in here. Jerusalem. Say Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Yer. Yer means what, Brother Roger? Er. Er in Hebrew. Er. Er. City. City. Er. Er. City. All right, city. A walled city. Er. All right, say er. All right. Shalom. What does that mean? Peace. So Jerusalem means what? Walled city of peace. And it's never had peace yet. It's been taken down and just to the ground, I think, 17 times in history. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that your desolation is at hand. Who's he speaking to here? Who's speaking? It's red letter now. Who is this? Who's speaking here? Jesus. Thank you. You got A+, brother. Jesus is speaking. Who's he speaking to? The Jewish people. The disciples, the church age is over. It's done. We have the church age. He finishes with the church age in verse number 19. Now he goes into the tribulation period. Now we go into we're talking about the tribulation saints, where most of the tribulation saints are Jews. Okay? Why is the tribulation period come upon the world? Why is it coming upon the world? 2 reasons. Number 1, why? God is going to beat the Jews up with the world. He's going to beat the Jews up and beat them back into line. And then he's going to save them at the last minute. All right? So the main reason for the tribulation period is so God can bring Israel into her rightful place as administrators of God's kingdom during this period of time right here, the 1,000-year reign. Israel, there will be at least 144,000 Jews. These are going to be leaders that are going to lead out in the worship of God for 1,000 years on earth. Epites gaze, terra firma, okay? On the earth. We're not talking about in heaven. The church is in heaven already. All the saved during this period of time are with the Lord, okay? And all the people that got killed here are with the Lord, that are saved, that is. But now for 1,000 years, we call the millennium. Millennium comes from two Latin words, milli and anna. What does that mean? 1,000 years. 1,000 years. All right? Desolation is at hand, but let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let those who are in the midst of the city depart, and let not those who are in the country enter the city. Because these are the days of vengeance, in order that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Woe to those who are with child, to those who nurse babes in those days, for there will be great distress upon the land. What land? Israel, Palestine. Okay? Wrath to his people, and they will fall by the edge of the sword, and will be led captive into all nations, and Jerusalem will be the temple under. Now here we go. Verse number 24 is completely different period of time. Jesus is giving us little doorways. This last verse here is going to see what happens at this point in time. All right? Right here, Israel is going to be dispersed again. All right? Israel is going to be dispersed again. This is what we call the diaspora. Say diaspora. That comes right out of Greek. Diaspora. It's sown throughout. They will be sown throughout the world. At the end of the church age, guess what's going to happen? Israel is going to be regathered. So we know we're near the end of the church age because Israel is being regathered. Okay? And right here is what was going to happen. Jesus looked at Jerusalem and said what? Jerusalem, oh Jerusalem, how many times I would have called you like a mother hen with her baby chickens, but you would not come. The reason the tribulation period is coming upon the earth is to get Israel back into fellowship with God. Now let's go to the book of Daniel. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Daniel 8th chapter. Let's go to Daniel 8. There's a lot of places here in Daniel we need.
Do you think that the Lord will let them blow up Israel again or tear up Israel?
Israel's going to be devastated. We're going to read that right now. Israel will be devastated. Israel will be devastated by the Antichrist.
Put the atomic bomb on it?
They're making the bomb right now.
Oh, well, Israel's getting ready to fight, I can guarantee you. They got the atomic bomb and everything else. We're at war over there. What is going to be the form of execution in the last days? Beheading. What's happening over there? All right. By the way, I know you don't know this. I don't think you know this. But we've got a lot of Southern Baptist missionaries in that area. Did you know that they've already, where ISIS went in there, that they've already captured a lot of these Baptist missionaries? And you know what the first thing they did? What was the first thing they did to them? With their families? The first thing they would do is they take the mother and father and the children in a courtroom. You know, Islamic worlds are not free worlds. I don't care what they say. Islam is a very dangerous, violent religion. Okay? A very dangerous and violent religion. It is. Period. I was going to bring which I think I've got in here. I do. Introducing Islam. Let me just read a little bit of this to you. This is what's going to happen in the last days now, okay? We're going to go in here. Introducing Islam. The name of the religion is Islam. and the root of which means peace. All right?
What's that? Arabic?
Yeah, it's Arabic. In all Arabic, Aramaic, and Hebrew are all sister languages. I want you to understand that. Now, you've been in the Middle East, Brother Andy, and you've heard a little bit. And when you hear them, a lot of the same. What did the Jews say to each other when they meet each other? Shalom. What did the Arabs say? Shalom. Same thing. Muslim Arabs, the followers of Islam are called Muslims. Allah is the only and only true God. The source of Islam, now I'm going through this real fast, okay? We're going to cover this a lot more in Hebrew, okay? The legal sources of Islam are the Quran and Hadith. The Quran is the exact words of God, according to them. The Hadith is the report or the sayings or the deeds or the approvals of the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet's sayings and deeds are called Sunnah. The Sirah is the writings of the followers of Muhammad about his life of the Prophet. Hence, it is the life story of the Prophet Muhammad which provides examples of daily living for Muslims. There is one message by all Muslims, which is not really... How many denominations of the Muslim world are there? As many denominations as there are Christians. Gobs of them. Well, no, that's just the beginning, brother. That's the ones that are killing each other, okay? That's just, there's all forms of it. All right? And there's also oneness in the message of their prophets. They believe that everybody from Adam on down was a prophet. Every man that's born in this world is innocent. You don't have Adam's nature. You don't have an evil nature with you at all. You're not responsible for anybody's sins except your own. That sounds very humanistic, doesn't it? But it's anti-biblical. All right? The state and the religion. Muslims believe that the state and religion should be married. Where do you think they got that idea in history? Catholicism. What Catholicism did when they brought in the Dark Ages, Islam is bringing in the Dark Ages now. And this is such a fact that you can't really realize. The church brought the world, I'm talking about the Catholic Church. The true church has always preached the truth, and they were all the way back to Christ. The true church has never died. They went underground. They had to. But the Catholic Church brought the world into the Dark Ages and poverty and disease and famine throughout Europe. While that was going on, the Islamic world their people were brought out of paganism, and there was a renaissance. That's where you have algebra and all of the medical advances that Islam made in the beginning. They weren't murdering people in the beginning until they got power. When they got power, now you see they are in every country, in every government, trying to bring it into Islam. Catholicism went throughout the world to bring the world to Catholicism. And what does the word Catholic mean? Universal. They were going to have one universal religion. And every one of them have a idea of the one world government, like the book of Revelation. It's the religion of the Antichrist. Brother Andy.
No, I'm serious. I thought they got most of their information from the Alexandrian library and then burned the thing. I mean, for the Greeks and
The Arabic?
the Arabs.
The Arabic
Yeah.
numerals that we have and everything all came. Most of the well, they did burn the great library at Alexandria, Egypt. That was a tremendous repository of human knowledge. It was burned. But they did, if you look at history, there was a rise of a culture in their area. And then they followed the way of Catholicism. There's nothing good about the Catholic Church ever in history, down to the present day Pope. If they had their ability today, they would rule the world still. But now Islam is following on their heels with their example. Who was fighting across the Mediterranean Sea for 1,000 years? Islam and Catholicism. All right? Let's go on a little further. The state and religion. Islam believes that the state ought to be and the church ought to be one, because their church is Islam. All right? And that talks about the practices of Islam, the creed, and the studies. And it says here that always in the history of Islam, we have never persecuted anybody. Do you believe that? It's always a religion of peace. Now we get into this greater this afternoon, okay? We're going to go into this in our Hebrew Bible studies. Let's go back now to the book of Daniel. Now we're talking about, we talked about the church age here, or like this. Then we talked about the rapture, 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17. Then we're talking now about the tribulation period. The tribulation period gets Israel ready for the Messiah. That's it. They're ready for the Messiah when they recognize the Messiah, which will be in the middle of this tribulation period. This is when many of Israel is born again during this 3.5 years of peace. And all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose on earth. And they find out that their leader is no longer their leader, but their enemy. And that he is the son of Satan. The literal son of Satan. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Genesis 3:15 said that Satan would have a son, literally a son in human flesh. And he may be in the world today. That's scary. Okay? Verse number 23, and in the latter period of the rule, when the transgressors have run their course, a king will arise, insolent and skilled in intrigue. This is him.
What chapter?
This is Daniel 8 and verse 23. Now let's go back to Genesis, all right? Genesis 3:15. I want you to see this for yourself. This isn't coming out of a magician's hat. Genesis 3:15. I want somebody to read that for me, Genesis 3:15. Now here, when you interpret the Bible, what do you say? Who is speaking? Who is he speaking to? What is the subject? Genesis 3:15. Brother Randy, will you read that for me, please?
I don't have Genesis.
You don't have Genesis?
No, I'm still in Daniel.
Okay. Genesis 3:15. Who has Genesis 3:15? Do you have that, young Sharon? No?
No, he's got the Bible.
Okay, he's got the Bible. How about you, Nadine? Do you have it? Genesis 3:15?
Oh, 3:15.
Genesis 3:15.
Yes.
Okay, you want to come up here and read that for me so they can't hear you back there? All right.
I will put it
Well,
in.
come up here. The microphone, it won't pick you up. Genesis 3:15.
And I will put an enemy between you.
Active enmity. Okay, now
Enmity.
just hold right there. Now, who's speaking? Jehovah God speaking.
Yes.
Who's he speaking to?
Well, he would be
Satan.
Satan.
Who is the audience also? Adam and Eve. Okay? And I will put active hatred or enmity. Go ahead.
Between you and the woman, and between you, between your seed.
Okay, who's that seed? Your seed. Who's going to be
Your
the seed? Who's going to be the seed of Satan?
Well, it'd be
The Antichrist.
Be the Antichrist.
And her seed, which is
and
who?
her seed.
Her seed is who? Jesus Christ. So we got the prophecy of two Messiahs. The false Messiah and the true Messiah right here in Genesis 3:15. And now go ahead, Nadine.
And he shall bruise your head.
Okay. Now, a head blow is what? A death-dealing blow. All right. The seed of the woman shall bruise you as to the head. He shall deal a death-dealing blow to you. But now the last part.
And you shall bruise his heel.
All right. Thank you.
Now, I do not,
Jesus Christ.
understand
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ would die on the cross of Calvary, but he wouldn't stay dead, would he? Would he? He wouldn't stay dead. Now let's go back to Daniel, the 8th chapter. And his power will be mighty, not by his own power. This is the man. And this man is a seed of Satan. And he will destroy to an extraordinary degree and prosper and perform his will. Whose will? The will of Satan. He will destroy mighty men, the holy and the holy people. Who's that? Israel. Now the church is already gone. It's gone. Through shrewdness and deceit. This is arom. Say arom. That is what Adam and Eve became, was arom, evil. And he will cause deceit to succeed by his influence. Satan has powers. Every false religious system, Islam is absolutely filled with demonic power, controlling those people to give their lives and to murder and kill. He will magnify himself in his heart. He will destroy many while they are at ease. Remember, when the Antichrist comes on the scene, he's going to come home. He's going to be a purveyor of peace. I'm going to give you peace, but to give me peace, you have to take my number. You can't get a job. Nothing you have is going to be. It's all going to be state issued. You won't be able to buy a meal, a TV, or a car or anything without your number, and that car will be imprinted with your number. Nobody can steal it. Everything's going to be safe. This is the propaganda of the Antichrist. Okay? Now, wouldn't it be nice if somebody tried to break in your house and steal? Wouldn't it? That would be really nice. If anything you had, nobody ever tried to steal your car, you could leave the keys in it. I remember when we did that, Randy. You remember when you left your keys in your car?
Well, I could do that at one time.
Yeah, but not now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to leave my keys in the car all the time. Never locked my house. Well, the Antichrist propaganda is going to be, you're going to have peace. It's going to happen. Sharon?
Yeah, as Christians, will we recognize the Antichrist right at first? I mean, the nice...
We're not going to be here.
Oh, okay.
Now, we're going to be gone.
Okay.
During that period of time. I believe that. Now, there are three views of the rapture. The rapture is a fact, but there are three different views of it. My view is the same as this church, is that we have a pre-tribulation rapture. Some people believe that in the middle of the week there's a rapture, and some people believe at the end of the week there's a rapture. Okay? The Bible just doesn't work out those other two ways in every angle. Okay? But I'll tell you that some people believe that. Okay? Let's go on a little further. Through his shrewdness he will cause deceit and succeed by his influence, and he will magnify himself in his heart, and he will destroy many while they are at ease, and he will even oppose the prince of princes. Who's that? Jesus. He's going to fight him. There, in Genesis the 3rd chapter, it said what? There we have the war of the two seeds. This is the battle of the two seeds. The two seeds, the seed of the Antichrist, the seed of Satan, and the seed of God, which is Jesus Christ, are going to do battle. And that's what it says right here. And he will be broken without human agency. Jesus Christ is going to whip Satan without any human help. Okay? Now let's go on a little bit further. Let's go over...
Where is it that they're supposed to have that battle?
Oh, this is a different place. That's... There's a battle of Armageddon and a battle of Gog and Magog. The battle of Armageddon takes place here during this period of time. The battle of Gog and Magog takes place when, Brother Roger? Does anybody know? Where's Brother Dr. John? Maryland, when's the battle of Gog and Magog going to take place? Come on, spit it out. No. No. At the end of millennium. At the end of the millennium. There's two different battles. Okay?
When we were in Israel, they took us, when we were going around, they said that they were big open fields.
Yeah, that was Armageddon. That's Armageddon.
Okay.
That's Armageddon.
And that's where the big
But some people get those two battles mixed up. The battle of Gog and Magog's over here. That's when Satan rebelled. You know, Satan's put in a bottomless pit down here, Revelation 27-9, for 1,000 years. And there's no demonic influence on the earth or anything for 1,000 years, and people will still be rebelling against God. That proves that all of us have the Adamic nature. That's the proof of that. See, Islam is wrong. we do have the Adamic nature. Let's go on a little bit further. Jude 6 through 9 tells you about angel wars. All right? Daniel 9:20 through 23 tells you about Gabriel coming to Daniel's rescue. Okay, we're not going to read all of that. Verse 21, it said, I was still speaking in prayer. Then the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in a vision previously, came and to me in my extreme weariness about this time of the evening offering. And he gave me instruction. Now, everybody, there are three. Some of you are real tired of this, but some of you haven't seen this at all. Man is triune, isn't he? He's body, he is soul, and he is spirit. Okay? You're triune. The body is according to, and God is triune. The hardware of God is what? The Son. Man is hardware, one part hardware, two parts software. Your hardware is your body. The body of God is Jesus Christ. That's the best way I can describe the Trinity. Okay? Now the angels, God made everything in His image. He did. Man was in His direct image. He even made angels in His image. Didn't you know that? Yeah, they were. But man is in His glorified image. As Adam walked in the garden, would be as Jesus Christ when He walked in Palestine. Okay? He was divine. Adam was. Or, God the Son was. Now, in this realm that we're talking about, these spirit wars, there's Gabriel. Okay? Gabriel. There's Michael. And there's Lucifer. Lucifer's name came from what? From what language? Dr. John, what language did Lucifer's name come from? Anybody know? Where? Latin. Latin. The Latin Vulgate in the Old Testament wrote him as Lucifer. The Hebrew is Hillel. Lucifer, the name Luke today, the name Luke or Lucas, Luke means Lucifer. Did you know that? Well, that's what it means. Luke is short for Lucifer. All right? Did you know Brother Phil named one of his kids Lucifer? I talked to him about this. But Lucifer is a good name. Satan is a bad name. Hillel, or Lucifer, means the shining one, the giver of light. Because Lucifer was the shining one, the light of the universe at one time. But he became darkness. Okay? Now, we have Lucifer over the material realm of the world. Matter, terra firma, that which is what we call normal. We live in a normal three-dimensional world. But there are 10 dimensions. And angels and demons and spirits just travel between those 10 dimensions at will. We can't. We are tied to the normal world. Angels appear, angels disappear, don't they? All right, now here we have Lucifer, we have Michael, and we have Gabriel. Now Lucifer was over the material creation of the world. Now in that material creation of the world, we find out, according to the book of Revelation, that 1/3 of all the spirits and 1/3 of all the angelic forces followed Satan. Did they not? We don't have to go there because we've done that many times. 1/3, evidently, of all of these different forces left with him. And we're talking about that now in the book of Luke and the book of Daniel. Now, those that are over the material realm, the physical realm, came from Lucifer's group, if they're bad or good. We think that 2/3 of them still follow the Lord. If you have a guardian angel, it was from Hillel's realm. If you have a ministering spirit, it's from Gabriel's realm. All right? Lucifer's realm. And now we have Michael. Michael is spiritual realm. That's the most powerful realm. The most powerful fallen angels came from Michael's realm. These are the ones that had to be put in chains. In the book of Jude, it tells us about that. Now we have Gabriel. Gabriel is what? What did Gabriel do? He disperses information from God. If you've got a seance today with anybody getting valid information in a seance, those are fallen angels out of Gabriel's realm. Okay? Let's go on further now. If I can talk. Daniel 9. And gave me instruction and talked with me. Who is this? Gabriel from the informational realm talking to Daniel. Verse number 23. At the beginning of your supplication the command was issued, and I have come to tell you, for you are the highly esteemed, so give heed to this message and gain understanding of the vision. Now let's go over again to the 10th chapter of Daniel. We're skipping a lot, but I can't cover all these verses. Daniel 10. Just go on a little bit further. Daniel 10 and verse 9. And I heard the sound of words. As soon as I heard the sound of the words, I fell into a hypnotic trance. Say hypnose. Hypnose comes right out of Greek, which comes out of the Hebrew, which means to dream. Adam, when God put him to sleep in the garden, He put him in a hypnotic trance. Do you know that the American Indians were using hypnosis before Christ to do surgeries in America? And also in Egypt, hypnosis. Almost every person that said in the Bible that he went into a dream, God hypnotized him. That was a hypnotic dream. He put him to sleep, and that's what He did here. I heard the sound of His words. As soon as I heard the sound of the words, I fell into a deep hypnotic trance on my face, with my face to the ground. Then behold, a hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. And he said to me, O Daniel, man of high esteem, understand the words which I am about to tell you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. When he had spoken this word to me, I stood up trembling. Number 12. Then he said to me, do not be afraid, Daniel, for the first day that you set your heart on understanding this and humbling yourself before your God. He prayed. How long was it? Weeks. Satan was trying to stop Gabriel from going to him. All right. Humbling yourself before God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia, here we have an angel war. Angel wars. The book of Jude. Brother Mike, can you bring up the book of Jude for me? And Jude, I think verses 6 through 9. Jude, verses 6 through 9. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia was withstanding me for 21 days, 3 weeks. And behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I have been left there with the kings of Persia. We're talking about angel wars. All this is going on. Every time you see anything happen in this world, we know that there's angels behind it. Go ahead, Brother Mike. Read that for me.
6 through 9?
Yeah, 6 through 9.
The angels who did not keep their own domain, but abandoned their proper abode, He has kept in eternal bonds until under darkness for the judgment of the great day. Just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, since they in the same way as these indulged in gross immorality and went after strange flesh, are exhibited as an example in undergoing the punishment of eternal fire. Yet in the same manner these men, also by dreaming, defile the flesh and reject authority and revile angelic majesties. But Michael the archangel, when he disputed with the devil and argued about the body of Moses, did not dare pronounce against him a railing judgment, but said, the Lord rebuke you.
Thank you, Brother Mike. How many orders of angels are there? Kinds of angels, species. We know that there's 3 groups. Gabriel, Michael, and Lucifer. Now, how many orders of angels are there? What are they called? Brother Roger? Cherubim. Say cherubim. Cherubim. Cherubim means they have wings. Seraphim. Teraphim. These are all different kinds. The cherubim that are standing over the Ark of the Covenant are cherubim. What kind of an angel is Lucifer? What kind of an angel is he? What order? Lucifer is probably a archangel, and he's of the order of cherubims. He has wings. Okay? That's about all I can tell you. The teraphim and seraphim, they are flaming angels. There was one there that stood in the garden guarding the tree of life. Not the tree that they ate, but the tree of life. So they wouldn't have a... Let's go on a little bit further now. For 21 days, he was withstood. 3 weeks, Gabriel was trying to get to Daniel. And they had angel wars. Feathers and hair and whatever were flying. And angelic beings. Okay? Let's go on a little bit further now. Let's go over to Daniel, the 11th chapter. And let's look about Satan's son. Let's look at Satan's son. Now, I'm going to tell you something about satanic forces. What are most thefts made? Why do most thefts happen? Brother Mike, you know?
Yes.
Why do most thefts take place? What's behind it? Huh?
Laziness.
What?
Laziness, drug addiction.
That's the thing. Drug addiction. Now, people that are on drugs have supernatural powers. They can just, you can't hardly stop them, can you? Whatever it is. You can't hardly stop them. In drugs comes demonic powers at times. Now, I'm not talking about if you have to take drugs for your medical condition, all that kind of stuff. We're not talking about that. That word in Greek is pharmakia. It says in the book of Revelation that the devil's group won't put away their pharmakia. Now, in drugs, what do you have? You have thefts, and what else? Prostitution. Immorality. This is all part of it. In Sodom and Gomorrah and all of those cities there, at least the 5 cities, there was gross immorality. We find out that all the way back to the book of Genesis in the 6th chapter, B'nai Ha-Elohim. What did I just say, Brother Roger? B'nai Ha-Elohim. Sons of God. Who were these sons of God?
The
Nephilim. The
Nephilim.
Nephilim. We find out in the book of Enoch tells you all of what happened there. Names the ones that rebelled. Names the angels that came down and had marital relationship with women and brought forth the giants. Who was the famous giant in the Bible that was a Nephilim? Goliath. How many brothers did he have? 4. How many stones did David pick up there in the book of Kidron when he was going to kill these 5 giants? He went after all 5 of them. Goliath came forward. I have to get my heart back in rhythm. It doesn't stay in rhythm all the time. He went out to kill all 5 of them. He only killed Goliath, and they all took off. And finally, they chased them all down and killed them. They're all 5 of them named in the Bible. Finally, one of them almost killed David. And David had to be rescued. And they would never let him go out to war again. That's why he was up on his palace when he saw Bathsheba down there, because they wouldn't let him go out to war anymore. Because he was afraid some Nephilim was going to kill him. There were a lot of Nephilim in the Bible, and these are a hybrid race from angels and mankind. And this Antichrist will be a Nephilim from Satan himself and a woman. Okay? Let's go on a little bit further. In false religion is also sexuality. Lack of it The only religions in the world that ever prohibited sex was false religious cults. Did you know that? Catholicism, some Muslim, Buddhist, all of these. Either depriving or, and of course the Muslims are always looking for what in the end? They're going to have lots of women. And in the end, what is the, you know, your Muslims and your Mormons are just like that too in their ideology. Did you know that? Women don't have any souls as far as Islam is concerned. In a Mormon church, women don't have any souls. Woman can't get into resurrection unless some man gets her there. She's got to be a faithful wife to somebody and be baptized and married in a temple before she's ever going to be resurrected. And it's up to her husband that he resurrects her. Nothing to do with God. If she's a good, faithful wife, he will put a veil over her face, and he will call her name and bring her through the veil in the resurrection. And in the resurrection, women are good for what? Servants, as far as Islam is concerned. And of course, in the Mormon world, you keep on procreating after you're recreated, after you're born. And the more wives you get there, that's the more women you saved. Isn't that nice? Yeah. The more women, more wives you have, the more women you saved. Because they're not going to get saved otherwise.
That's mighty nice of them.
Yeah. I've known a few Mormons, and I said, well, and their wives were rebellious, and I said, just remind them you won't take them through the veil. They're going to get to stay in the grave and sleep forever, you know. Okay, let's go on a little bit further. And the king will do as he pleases. We're talking about the Antichrist. In verse number 36 in Daniel, the 11th chapter. And the king will do as he pleases, and he will exalt and magnify himself above every god. And he will speak monstrous. Look at that word monstrous there. Monstrous things. What in the world? Extraordinary, miraculous things against the God of gods. And he will prosper until the indignation of his is finished, for that which is decreed will be done. Now let's look at the personality of the Antichrist. Let's see what he is. And he will show no regard for the gods of his fathers. Now what is he going to be? Probably the Antichrist will be of what race? He's going to be Jewish. Would they accept a Messiah that wasn't Jewish? He's going to have at least a Jewish mother. Okay? He's going to have the devil for his father. But he's going to have a Jewish mother. All right? He will show no regard to the gods of his fathers or for the desire of women. The word there, desire, is hamath. Say hamath. He will probably be a homosexual. Homosexuality gets its origin in demonic worship. What were they in Sodom and Gomorrah? Homosexuals. All right? Homosexuals. He's going to have no natural desire for women. Either he won't care or he will be a homosexual, one or the other. Okay? He will speak monstrous things against the God of gods, and he will show no regard for the gods of his fathers or for the desire of women. Nor will he show regard for any other god, for he will magnify himself above them all. Now it says in the Bible that Satan is going to be worshipped for a very short time. That Satan, his man, is going to build an image. He's going to make an image. Now how did God build man? In the Antichrist will do exactly what Jehovah did in the garden. He's going to create. I'm going to tell you something. People play it down, but if you go in Hebrew, all of those plagues in Egypt, those magicians, Jannes and Jambres, and while we find that out, we find it from 2 Timothy, but where did Paul get his information? From the book of Jasher. All right? The history of Jasher that tells you who they were. That's where Paul got his information. Those guys were doing miracles and they were creating. Satan is going to pull a trick. In the tribulation period, he's going to go back to the garden and he's going to imitate God. Now, how was man created? How was he created? Nope, not from dirt.
Clay.
Not from clay. Brother Roger. from the same elements that He created this. From the same elements, man would be created from the same elements as the clay, not from it. Man is a primary creation of God. I want you to say, man is a primary creation of God. He wasn't created from anything else. Woman is a secondary creation of God. She was created from what? Man. Okay? That's why man has got such a responsibility on him. He's come right straight from God. The same elements that God made the dirt from, He made man from. And somehow Satan is going to imitate that. He's going to make an image. He's going to make it, and he's going to breathe life into that image. God said that He created man in His spiritual image, His blood-flowing likeness, and what else? And His shadow-casting image. That's what it says in Hebrew. And then He breathed into him what? The breathings of lives. And what did He breathe into Adam? Blood. God's blood went into Adam. God's blood was in Jesus. Woman never passes on the Adamic nature to the child. It's to the man. The blood comes from the man, not the woman. The woman gives the child form. Satan is going to put his blood in his son. And that man could be walking today. He could be walking this earth today. But instead he will honor the God of fortresses, a God of armies, a God of violence, a God whom his fathers did not know, and he will honor him with gold and silver and costly stones and treasures. And it will take action against the strongest of fortresses with the help of a foreign god. He will give great honor to those who acknowledge him, and he will cause them to rule over the many, and he will parcel out the land for a price. Now let's go over here again a little bit further. Go back now to the book of Luke. And let's read this again. We'll have better understanding. And when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize her desolation is at hand. The Antichrist has come. He has already made a covenant with Israel for 7 years. They think he is their Messiah. Israel today, you can make donations to Israel today, the temple fund, to buy the temple. The temple that they're building over there, are going to build, is the Antichrist temple. It's the Antichrist temple. The Antichrist is going to get it in there in Jerusalem. The Antichrist will do it. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Now here we have the Jews now. God, this message is to the Jews. Jesus is speaking to His people. Those that are in Judea, flee to the mountains. What's Judea? All the cities around Jerusalem. Flee to the mountains. Many people today, many theologians, think that this place in the mountains is what? What? Petra. The valley of Armageddon or Megiddo, that battlefield is not created yet. Did you know that? It's not created yet. There's a place called Megiddo. I've been to that place. I think you've been, everybody's been to Megiddo. But that valley is going to be 200 miles long. It's not 200 miles long right now. It's going to go all the way down to Bozrah. All the way down, that battlefield. It's going to be created. Let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. I believe this is Petra. And let those who are in the midst of the city depart. And let not those who are in the country enter the city. Because these are the days of vengeance, in order that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Woe to those who are with child, to the poor women. This is the tribulation period. Now, this is the middle, the third 3.5 years. For the first 3.5 years, there's going to be peace. There's going to be public beheadings. Everybody's going to be safe from everybody. But then all of a sudden, and who is this Antichrist going to be over? How many nations is he going to be over? What block of nations today is he going to be over? The Western nations. He's going to be over the rest of them. If America is in existence, he will be over America at that period of time. Shaky, huh? Right here is when that takes place. Right in 3.5 years into the tribulation period, it's when this verse is going to take place. This is fulfillment. Woe to those who are with child, to those who nurse babies in those days, for there will be a great distress upon the land, and the wrath to his people. Satan is going to try to destroy every Jew on this earth. And how many Jews is he going to destroy? How many?
144,000?
No. How many Jews are going to get destroyed?
500.
No. Let's go into thirds again.
2/3.
2 out of every 3 are going to be dead.
Does he want to destroy
Okay, now here's the world.
people?
The world is divided up in 6 pieces. How many of those how many of all the Gentiles are going to be destroyed? 5 out of 6. 5 out of 6 people. And they will fall by the edge of the sword. There's going to be a whole lot of them die. A lot of these Jews are going to die. You know why they're going to die? First of all, they didn't believe in this age. Right now, every Jew in this world could be saved if they believe in the Messiah, which they hate. They hate him till this day. But all of this is going to come upon the world because of the Jewish people to bring them back to God. And they will be led captive in all nations. Jerusalem will be trampled down underfoot. The last part of this now goes back again to right here, when Israel was deported. Last week we studied Pontius Pilate's letter, didn't we? The last week, the week before. Pontius Pilate converted. Pontius Pilate believed in Jesus. Pontius Pilate converted the Roman emperor. Who was that? Tiberius Caesar. Tiberius protected the church from Israel. Finally, Titus Caesar completely destroyed Israel there. Masada, the Sicarii, headquarters were Masada, and they went in the 10th Roman Legion against them. They ravaged the city of Jerusalem, everything over the Sicarii business, over these assassins, Jewish assassins, and they were spread throughout all the world. Well, that's all I got time for today.
Does Satan want to kill all the Jews because of Jesus?
Say that, start out again.
Does Satan want to kill the Jewish people because of the God's chosen people?
You know, Satan knows God's plans, doesn't he? He's not ignorant. He's heard every prophet speak that ever spoke. And what does the Bible say? That he's going to save at least 1/3 of the Jews. He'd like to kill them all. Through Luther. How many of you have heard of Lutherans? The Lutheran Church? Luther, Martin Luther. You know what he said about the Jewish people? You know why Hitler had so much strength in Germany? Because Luther, in his time, had called for the extermination of all the Jews. All Hitler did was just put into practice what Luther had called for. All right. Besides that, the Jews were communist. And Hitler was a capitalist. America backed Hitler for a long time. Did you know that? We give them oil and everything else. Finally, it turned around. Every nation in Europe had volunteers in Hitler's army. That's what we call the SS troopers. Every nation, even England, France, Spain, Lithuania, all the nations had volunteers in Hitler's army. Latvia. All of these people, you know why? Because they were fighting communism, because they knew that the Russians were going to take over the world with communism. And they were volunteering in Hitler's army because Hitler was trying to exterminate the Russians. The Russian Jews, the German Jews slipped into Russia and other parts of the world, the ones that weren't killed. Okay? And after that, what God allowed Hitler to do made the Jews seek a homeland. There were many displaced person ships out there in the Mediterranean Sea with Jews on them. And the Jews finally started jumping off those ships and swimming to shore. Many of them drowned. But they went into the land. There were a few Jews left there, but they went into the land, and that's when they started buying the world. The Jewish people have always been the bankers of the world. Study the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds are not English, they are Jews. They're like puppet masters. All right, there you go. Go out and do something eternal. Who's going to come up here? Do we have anybody? No? Am I going to do this prayer business? Everybody exited on me? Well, let me shut all this off. Go out and do something eternal.